everyone. Happy Saturday. I know it's a lazy Saturday afternoon. So as usual, I have to check if my sounds are good. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Saturday afternoon. If you are at the beach, that is, if you are still in the coastal region. If you are in the mainland, that is from the mountains, you are definitely having a good one. Now, welcome to today's live, and we'll be doing something different. As I'm talking, I'm trying to check to see if my connection is good, and that's confirmed. And today we will be breaking down the Atomic Habits. It's actually the book which is in front of me, and we want to see how best can we be able to apply these lessons in real life. That is, if you have a business which you're running, if maybe you are into farming, if you're into fitness, and even if anything in everyday life. It's one of those books, I would say, has been heavily recommended to me. And I think I have also to come clean. This is a book which I have not read before. And I'm super excited because it's one of those books which I believe will certainly improve our lives. So ideally, because of the copyright, so I'll not be going, let's just say, word by word. I will certainly be paraphrasing and trying to link it possibly from my own journey, what I think business wise, farming, fitness. These are some of the things that I'm really passionate about. So let me know where you're watching from, what you're doing this Saturday afternoon, and it's good to see you, Miss Tuo. Thank you for joining, and obviously, as usual, for being an amazing moderator. You are the real OG here, because without your contribution, then this kind of lives must be very difficult. So thank you so much, and we really celebrate you and appreciate your good work. So where are you watching from? What are you guys doing this on Saturday afternoon? If I'm in Kenya, most of the guys I know, they're about to hit the Sherehe mode. So have you guys started it? And let me know. So as usual, that is the spiritual water, which makes you to be very energized and also very brilliant. The fact that we're going to look at the book, I know someone is laughing, but yeah, it's a very spiritual water. So, atomic habits. This is the deal. For most people, they think that success often comes from big action. But when you tend to think through it, you have to look back. It's predominantly the tiny decisions that we tend to make along the way. Like assuming today, and I've not even started to look at the book. This is why I'm so excited. I'm just based on what I've heard about the book and what myself I have seen works in relation to that. It's the everyday small minute decision that we make today that ultimately fuel what we term as big success. Well, often the reason why for most people they tend to underestimate this, it's because these small decisions these small habits, they tend to feel so insignificant, and sometimes you cannot actually see if indeed you're making any progress. But this is the gist. Over time, they actually quietly accumulate a very powerful result. So we want to see, for example, then how does that system work? How can it be able to help us, whether you're in business, whether you're employed, in our own lives, in anything that we are trying to do? And that's why comes this amazing book, which has been written by James, I think that should be James Smart, if I'm not wrong. Let me just check. Yeah, James Clear, not James Smart. James Smart used to be a news presenter sometime back. This is James Clear, and the writer is Atomic Habits, and it's on how you can build on good habits and break the bad ones, and ultimately be able to fuel what you yourself you term as growth. I hope that makes a lot of sense. And I don't want first to focus on the epilogue, because obviously the first few chapters, and thanks guys for the love, the first few chapters or the introduction, he tends to talk about his own life and how ultimately he was able, I think when I was reading today, when I was still flipping the book, he tends to talk about the injury he had and how he had to be rushed to the hospital at point blank and couldn't remember anything. And that's why everything started. But that's not essential for us. What really is, we need to understand from the onset, one, he tends to talk, one, how will this book benefit you? And I'll jump clear to what he says. One of the biggest entrepreneur, and this is an investor with the name Naval Ravikant, he has said before, to write a great book, you must first become the book. And James goes on to say, originally, he had learned about the ideas mentioned here because he had to live through them. And he also had to rely with this small habit to rebound from, you may remember when we mentioned the injury he faced, and even for him, ultimately to build something from the truck all the way even to the business side. And it's where he goes on to talk about how he'll be able to talk on based on biology, neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and much more. But again, that's not where our attention is. So I'll jump straight to where he talks about the fundamentals, and this is why the tiny changes makes the big difference. And I'll go to where he says why small habits makes a big difference. And when I'm looking at this, I'd love to know if you are in this stream, what are some of those tiny habits or tiny decisions have you taken in the past, or are you planning to take, to be able to achieve what you yourself you term as a success? So James Clear says it's so easy to underestimate the importance of defining one moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on daily basis. Too often, we convince ourselves that massive success requires this kind of massive action, whether it's in losing weight, whether it's in building a business, whether it's writing a book, winning a championship, or achieving any other goal. We put pressure on ourselves to make something earth shattering improvement that everyone will talk about. And this is what we as human beings sometimes we tend to think. Like from my end, like from let's say in a business perspective, you feel that you have to open one big business for you to feel successful. Or sometimes you feel, let's say, if you are into fitness, you feel like you have to run a 42K marathon for you to feel fit. Well, we tend to ignore that we don't necessarily need to make this margin gain from instant for us to feel we have succeeded. And it's that improving that 1% that is particularly notable. And he goes on by saying sometimes it's not even noticeable, but it can be furthermore meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is just astounding. And when you think about that, I feel if we can be able to adopt or to embrace this, then we will possibly be at our forefront of achieving what we want as a success. I don't know what you guys you're working on, but I can tell you, like for myself, recently I started something which is very interesting. I'm a big fan enthusiast when it comes to fitness, but at the same time, I've been so lazy. So for like I think for 3 months now, I've not stepped into the gym. So what that has done is I started missing it out for just few weeks, and eventually it came to the 3 months. But then over time, I realized, oh my God, I'm so out of shape and I really need to improve. Otherwise, if I go on this end, then I will ultimately lose it. So I started watching something which popped up online, and there's this guy. I think he's called, I can't remember the name. Oh, I really need to rename, I really need to remember the name here. And I still can't remember the name. It's something to do with iron, and he does fitness. So what he did was is this amazing guy who has like a workout routine at home, and he tends to do like push-ups. He is doing push-ups, squats, more of characteristic, and he is using body weight. So this means you literally don't need to go to the gym to be physical. So for me, I tended to embrace that, and that was like a month ago. And what he did, which is very interesting, is every time at my house, which is possible from 10 p.m., eventually that guy comes online. And I get the notification, and like a gang of almost more than 200 to 300 people join online. And eventually, the Iron Fit is always saying, "Oh, let's go, everyone! You can do it. If I did it with an open heart surgery, why can't you do it?" So for us, or I would say for me, I started to pick that habit for like a month ago, and have seen tremendous improvement, because every day, 5 days in a week, when he comes online, I pick up, we do push up together. Obviously, for him, he's doing like 500 push ups, he is doing 500 squats, and there are some days they do like 1,000. But my body cannot handle that. So, hello, good to see you, Mr. Festus. So, personally, the very first week, it was rough. So, I would only manage to do less than 20 push ups. And then the second day, the pain was unbearable. The squats were even hard, because even when I used to work out at the gym, I don't like squats, but I don't have chicken leg, guys. So don't joke about that. But it's a good joke. So every day I kept on improving. And by week two, I realized I was no longer doing 20 push ups. By week two, I was doing 50 push ups, 60 push ups, and maybe around 20 squats along the way. Right now, as we continue practicing, I think 2 days ago, I almost did a record of 150 push ups. Something when I look back a month back, I was like, wow, it's almost impossible. And this also takes back to what James Smart is talking about. He says improving 1% isn't particularly noticeable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding. And he goes on to elaborate a math. There's also another book which I think I need to check, The Compounding Effect of 1%. Because imagine there are two scenarios here. If you choose to improve your daily life, whether it's in business, whether it's in daily life, whether it's in fitness, whether it's in relationships, if you choose to do that 1% and you tend to compound it over possibly a year, then you'll end up having, they are talking almost within 365 days, you'll end up with around 37.78 points ahead if you'd have stuck. And it's certainly true because when I started to work out at home, I was barely doing less than 20. Within within 4 weeks now, I'm at 150. And I believe if I push, I was just making those joke with my girl the other day, and she was like, "Hey, damn, I really like how your arms are looking nowadays, even though I know you're not working out." And I was just saying, in 3 weeks, if this is what, no, in 3 months, if this is what you think is good, you should wait for 3 months because I can wait for January, February, March, and I only need every day to do just extra 10 push up, just extra 10 push up. And if I'm doing a 150 tomorrow, I can do 160 every day. That's what it's all about because that's what is going for me. My goal right now is to be physically fit. I mean, someone says there's nothing worse than when you achieve your goal financially and you end up not having the best health because you don't get that. So one of my goals, which have been on point this year, is to get there. But to achieve that, I realize I can do 500. I can do 1,000. I have to do the 10 and be comfortable to improve on the 6 the next day. So it's quite interesting because throughout this book, you also now get to see how habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, the same way that money multiplies through compound interest. The effect of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make a little difference on any given day, yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It is only when you're looking back 2 or 5 or perhaps 10 years later, the value the value of good habits and the cost of bad habits become strikingly apparent. So the way James put this is reminds me one of the favorite speech which I had some time back while still in uni was from Steve Jobs, the famous innovative creative mind of Apple. And during a graduation speech, I think it was Yale of Cambridge, I'm not really sure. And he says there were 3 lessons for him growing up, but for me, what stood out was when he says, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. you can only connect the dots looking backward. And it's certainly true when you look from the compounding effect. So today you choose to do something very tiny. The truth is, whether it's in business, personal life, or relationships, or anything, you can be able to see that. But over time, just like the money grows, is if you have a bank account and possibly is locked on, maybe I don't know if we have account guys in the room, on savings, but have some interest for the first few weeks or days, you don't see that money. But if you leave that money, it's like with the shares, assuming there is no downfall. Over the time, the interest keeps on building up, and eventually you leap it. So, if it was from the positive perspective, it will put you at that edge which you think it's a success. But if it's from the negative perspective, it will also leave you off worse than you were when you started that particular journey by that decision you made or the habit that you take. It's good to see you, Mesa Mate. I keep saying this is one of my biggest supporters, biggest collaborators, and technically one of the key people who have gone above and beyond to ensure that Afrifama is housed, to ensure that Afrifama can be able to grow. And I know even for him, this is a topic we keep on talking when we meet sometimes on the weekend. Um, if you compare back the Afrifama journey, because when I started my entrepreneurship journey, I did not start yesterday, and certainly did not start last year. This is something I started while I was still working in the same locality and we meet. And over time, what I've seen is what began as Afrifama as literally nothing, no infrastructure, no clients, no partners, no nothing, just as a one person on a mission. But ultimately, we had, say, this goal of becoming an impactful entrepreneur. So every day, or over the months, or over the weeks, which translated over the weeks and over the months, we'll end up putting on these massive hours behind the desk, writing, thinking, strategizing. And sometimes I felt like I was the crazy one because if you looked at me, you'd not see any tangible growth. But this was what has been happening or was happening on the background. Every day you are working on that one margin that's going to take you there. And eventually, that goal or that decision or that thing you're working towards is it tends to be cumulative with time. And today, as we speak, I feel 3 years on or 4 years on, depending on where you can kickstart Afrifarmer journeys, you cannot say we are the same because on both sides, we have made a lot of mistakes, which has costed us a lot of money. So if we never made those decisions, we would not have made those incremental changes. Some of them has been positive, some of them negative, but for us, I think the positive always outweighs the negative. It's super hot here. It's I don't know. It's on Saturday afternoon and it's very hot outside. So before I deviate, so we're looking on James Smart book. I keep saying James Smart. This is James Clear book on atomic habits, and we are looking on how these tiny habits, the decisions we make every day, that they can be able to improve. So it's good to see you, sir, in the house, and super excited that sometimes I know, despite how busy you are, your schedule, and everything. You're always here. Yeah, hello, Robert. Today I've not seen you in the morning. It's fantastic to see that you're also watching from Afrifama Farm. I personally hope this is also going to be very instrumental for you. I know you're one of the youngest people I've worked with, but you're also very smart person, innovative. So I'm very excited because some of these things we discuss, they go long way, not just helping as an organization, but also helping you as an individual. And ultimately, that is what atomic habit is about. But then someone would maybe possibly, we're still on the beginning, but I promise I'll only be here by only maybe 15-20 minutes. Um, Ultimately, someone will ask, where does this everything start? So I'll be able to go again deeper into into what James is talking about. But again, I'm also trying to be careful so not to get copyright infringement for the same. That's the funny thing about lives. If you're creating content, you can't literally use 100% of someone else's work. So there is a question which had been highlighted here and goes on. I'm also looking at that 1%. Good. I've seen it. I've seen it. Just a minute. The 1% rule. So ultimately, this, if you looked at today when you are clicking on this live, I know you saw something like the 1%. And even most of the videos which I've last watched in the last quarter of the year, most of them they have had the title the 1%. And I was also very inquisitive. What is this 1%? Why is it so why is it so significant? It's just 1% if you compare it based with the 99%. But James Clear is saying, and even other people, this 1% is so essential in your life. If you do it right, it is going to be impactful. And then he says on to say, if you improve by just 1% every day, and it's just what we were saying when you opened up this discussion. If you improve by 1% every day, you may not notice it now. But over the year, the result compound into something extraordinary. And this is why we say tiny improvement stack up. Tiny mistakes also stack. So every small choice matters. And I'm just curious for maybe Robert, for Mr. or for Mr. Festus, what would 1% improvement look like to you? Just think about it. Because again, we have a different perspective of a different ways of thinking what success looks like. So the 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant at the moment. But over the span of the moment, that makeup of a lifetime of these choices determines the difference between who you are today and who you could be. So success ultimately it's the product of these micro minute daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformation. So if you are looking to get fit, obviously it's very funny because one of the end year goals, and you're going to see in most of the publishments, most of the newspapers, even the WhatsApp, people still use that. Most on Facebook, LinkedIn, IG, captions. Everybody, as far as fitness is concerned, they'll be saying I want to be fit when the year starts. And everybody still thinks by showing up to the gym the very first day, and whether deadlifting 100 kgs or maybe benching 100 kg, that is going to give you that big difference. But the truth is, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Not even the 2 days, not even the 3 days. For someone to see these significant differences which we are talking about, sometimes you just need to show up for a few minutes in a day, but consistently over the time. It's the same thing. If you want to run a marathon, whether it's a 10K, 22K, which is a half a marathon, or even a 21K is a half, or even a full marathon, which is 42K, trust me, if the very first day what you're going to do is to run that the whole course, you'll never wake up the next day. So what do? You see what other athletes do. The very first day is you see them practicing for few minutes. They do 10 40 minutes. The next day they do 45. And eventually they are able to compound this over the time. And if you are able to do this over the lifetime, this is why we have the goats such as our own from Kenya, from East Africa. This is Eliud Kipchoge. That's why he is the goat of marathon, because I believe if you sat today with Eliud Kipchoge and ask him, what has fueled your success on the track? What has made you dominate the Berlin Marathon, the London Marathon, even in China? Why? Ultimately, I think he'll tell you it's what people don't see. It's behind the desk. It's behind the track. It's all those years before we realize who he was. And this is what we are talking about. The 1% is what that 1% he has been doing maybe since he was 10, 15, 20s. Even by the time he is reaching his prime, that is over the 30 years. And that is what makes the big difference. So, my question is, are you spending, if possible, if you're into fitness, or are you spending less than you earn each month? Are you making it more to the gym each week? Are you reading more books? Are you learning something each new day? Because tiny battles like this are the one that will define yourself in the future. It's very funny because I was having a discussion prior to this morning, and someone I said, listen, Trey, I even feel myself, I feel so bad because one of my good friends has written an amazing book and she forwarded to me to read. And unlike before, when I was young, I used to read so many books. And over the time, what it did is it really helped me to become better with writing, better in thinking, better even into explaining myself than most people. Even the fact that I never went to any elite book, because you can imagine, I started reading my very first book when I was in class 5, and not just the normal books we read at the school, no, just contemporary. And over the time, I became so good at the books. I would read possibly 3 books in a week, 4 books. I think possibly I must have been the favorite kid for the librarian because I used to be allowed to have 2 extra books when everybody was given 1 book. And over the time, I didn't realize it because I was reading because I loved reading, and most of the time I was alone at home. So over the time, over the years, I started to master how to be good with articulations, with writing. And at that moment, it wasn't a big deal. But in school, the more we progressed, the more I became better. But now, recently, I don't know, maybe because of life, business, or anything, I stopped reading. So Well, when I was younger, my graph was going like this. Now, the more I became older, my graph is going like this. So my friend sends me a book, has seated in my counter for. I only read the first one book, so if she is watching, please at least know I tried to read one page. And she called yesterday and she says, "Have you read the book?" And I'm like, "Damn, I was supposed to read that book." Because my younger self would have taken 3 days to read that book. And now I'm thinking of one of the things, as we say, as the year is coming to an end, as we start 2026, is I literally need to improve on reading because I'm just so terrible at the moment. And one of the books I want to start with, there are actually two books. This book, which we are reviewing today, by James Clear on the atomic habits. And the other book is the book that my friend shared with me, and she is excited because she has started her author journey. So, and when I'm reading this book today, I'm thinking, how do I become better? And now this links up back to the conversation we're having with this friend today. And she said, you cannot do 100 pages. And it's true, because I was like, what if I read 100 pages today? She says, no, you can. But then I'm like, if I can talk to you for 2 hours, why can't I not read 100 pages? And then I'm like, maybe 50 then I can do. And this whole conversation got me into thinking the reason why I'm not reading this book or getting better is because I've not convinced my mind I'm seeing the bigger goal, the 100 pages or 50 pages. What if I started just to see it as just the 5 pages today? Just that is it, that's tiny goal, which is not big, a book like this. Because if you look, this is a book, it's an amazing book, by the way. I'll talk about it in the future, Sapiens. So this is like 500, because this is 498 pages. So if I pick up a book like this and maybe I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, see, it looks very insignificant. But then if I look forward these 5 pages in the next 25 days before Christmas, the truth is I'll have read this book. But if today I feel I just need to say 100 pages, 100 pages is somewhere up to here. It's very big and it can happen. And I believe this is what James Clear is talking about, the progress of using that minute 1%. But now this is the gist. Other than doing 1% and then we expect to have the success, sometimes there is always a valley of disappointment. And this is what he goes on to say. Similarly, habits often appear to make no difference until you cross the critical threshold and unlock a new level of performance. In the early and middle stages of any quest, there is often a valley of disappointment. You expect to make progress in a linear fashion, and it's frustrating how ineffective changes can seem during the first days, weeks, and even months. It doesn't feel like you are going anywhere. It's a hallmark, and in a compounding process, the most outcomes are delayed. You hear that? In any compounding case, the powerful outcomes are usually delayed. Because most of the times, even when you pick a habit, whether it's in fitness, trust me, um, now looping it back to me working out at home, the very first 2 weeks were tough. I couldn't literally stand because if you do squats, even if you're using body weight and you're using more than 20, it becomes hard. If you're using body weight for what do you call for the push-up, it's even worse. Your arms, shoulders become sore. But over the time, the more you go past 50, 100, the more it even becomes harder. But eventually, that process starts to become easier. And ultimately, you start to see the results. So you've got to understand it's not going to be easy. So I'm not here today trying to tell you like, hey, whether it's in entrepreneurship, like something which I'm passionate about and I tend to talk about every day, that if you start with your idea today, if you start saving today, if you start doing ABCD for your business today, that is going to change. There are those days which you'll be super tired. There's those days that you're going to be crazy and even you want to raise your hand. Personally, there's so many times people have literally frustrated me and to a point of saying, you know what, just fuck this. I don't want this. And at that particular moment, that's usually where lies the breakthrough. That's why we say the most powerful outcomes are always delayed. So, when you finally break through the plateau of latent potential, people will call it an overnight success. The outside world only see the most dramatic event rather than all that preceded it. But you know that it's the work that you did long ago when it seems that you aren't making any progress that makes the jump today possible. Think about this. The people we celebrate, and this takes me back to the GOAT, Eliud Kipchoge, breaking down the Ineos 156 barrier. We celebrated Eliud. We clapped for him and we said, no human being alive has ever done a sub 2 hours marathon. But rarely did we pause to think Elliot the Gold is possibly 30 something years or even 40. So, what has he done for him to break that barrier? The pain he endured. Sometimes you even look at the shoes the athlete is wearing, and you can literally see them bleeding due to the physical, and not talk about the fatigue itself. Now, we only celebrate the success because for people, when they see that, that is the overnight success. In the business, is the same case. Today, Afrifama, and allow me to use that case, it's a very small, insignificant, I'm looking for a kind word for myself. Let's just say small, insignificant startup in their own heads trying to do something. And we literally don't matter to anyone at the moment. You flag that name. I was having this discussion, and if you're from the coastal region, forgive me. I was saying the ecosystem for the coastal region, and I'll go on the record for this, they literally choose to shut down people like us because they look like, what are these guys doing? So if they are not in the ecosystem and they are not affiliated to us, then it's not a big deal to have them. So for me as an entrepreneur, and this is not a complaint, so don't, if you're watching this, don't even invite me. But I kept saying, I've seen founders who get, this public recognition like, oh guys, they're building this and it's fantastic. But I've also seen in the cases whereby I feel together with my team, we've really tried to build something amazing, but we've always been looked down because, well, we are small, we are insignificant. But now, fast forward, whatever we have been working on, and I'm very 100% is one of the biggest things that will ever happen in the coastal region comes to the limelight. Everybody will be like, yeah, we knew it. Congratulations. This is amazing. Then they'll start to even invite us for the dinner. Why? Because at that moment, that's what people celebrate. They don't say if Mr. Mate I hope he is still in this stream. He'll tell you this. Sometimes he keeps asking me, why do you do this? And he says he is the only person who can share my story because he is literally a few blocks from here, because he have seen for years, for many nights, early mornings, and every day I've shown up to work even when I don't pay myself sometimes. But people don't see that. It's the same case with you. When you finally break through that plateau of latent potential, people will call it an overnight success. But if you think through, it's those tiny habits that you choose. If you saw the bigger picture, it's those decisions that kept you up every day, if it's fitness, if it's business, for years when people never bothered about you. So that's why the 1% matters, because while it's small, most people don't see it. But over the years, the compound effect happens. And that's why you achieve what you call your success. Now, the good thing is, this is a very, very interesting book. And he goes on to talk about the winners and the losers that have all the goals. But before even I dive into that, he talks about something which is interesting. And this is whereby I started asking this question. Someone was saying, why do this matter? Why or where can I start? So obviously, it's all starts with the systems. It all starts with the goals. And trust me, you cannot have that 1% of something you don't recognize. Personally, as an entrepreneur, and I'm not still not successful yet, you can imagine, I still have a system. I've already have the goals, and it's these goals and the system, personally, I feel they keep me grounded, and every day I have to chase this. So James Smart goes on to say, I don't know why I keep saying smart. He's not smart, but he is smart because this is a very brilliant book. So a goal sets the direction, but the system creates progress. You don't rise to the levels of your goal. You follow, you fall to the level of your system. If you want better outcomes, build better daily routine, not just better goals. And at this moment, I want to go back to the fitness. A month ago, I said, you know what? I'm enthusiastic for health. I want to be better. And I've been running as long as I can remember. I've been going to the gym before I had the sleep. Um, in the coming few months and years, I want to be that person I was and even be better. And when I started watching this channel for this gentleman, he was doing what I can do, but I knew I only need to do maybe 1% of what he is doing, but I know where I want to go. So I started by saying, by the end of the month, I want to see if one day I can do at least 50 to 60 push ups. Just that on a single sitting. And it didn't even take me a whole month to do that. Was it easy? No, it was very painful. It was very terrible. But because there was the goal, the next thing that mattered was the system. I knew every day at 10 p.m., the Iron Fist will always go live and he will be there to encourage us. So my system was I have to be at home 10 p.m. no matter what. Even if I was at the call, that call don't matter anymore. So it's 10 a.m., it's push-up time, it's squat time, and that's what has been helping. So over time, I've been following that, the alarm, the notification, and then boom. I feel I've never felt better than I feel at the moment. I feel this is what has pushed me. The same case with the entrepreneurship, if I was to look back. So He goes on to say goal setting suffers from a serious case of survivorship bias. We concentrate on the people who end up winning, the survivors, and mistakenly assume that ambitious goal led to their success while overlooking all the people who had the same objective but didn't succeed. So you have also to realize it does not mean because that you're going to set a goal today, you're going to succeed. No, because it's unfortunate that in the society we always say a coin has two sides. We have the flip side, which is the head and the tails. And for us, the head matters more than the tails. But we rarely do we think about the tails. Those are the people who set their goals but didn't succeed. So why? And it can still happen to you. Then he goes on to say, every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Every candidate wants to get a job. And if successful and unsuccessful people share the same goal, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. It wasn't the goal of winning the Tour de France that propelled the British cyclists to be the top of the sport. Presumably, they had wanted to win the race every year before, just like every other professional team. The goal had always been there. It was only when they implemented a system of continuous improvement, small improvement that they achieved over the different outcomes. I remember this is a story he started by opening up about the Tour de France. These are guys that who does cycling about a British team. They had tried so many times, so many years, failing short. And one of the coaches one day just realized, you know what? Maybe we have been doing it all wrong. Because the goal is there, but does not mean we have the goals we goal to succeed. They realize we have been having the goal, but we have been failing. It's the same case with us. It's unless that moment when it comes for us to realize we need something bigger than the goal. We need the system. This is what holds us accountable. This is what propels us. That's the only way to win. And it's the same thing. One of my favorite entrepreneurs and founders, this is from Netflix. He is the initial founders before the bigger guys came in. He keep on saying, an idea is good. An idea is good for enterprise. But if you base your valuation on just an idea, you're not going to succeed. If it's the actual work that you put in as an entrepreneur, the strategy, the midnight calls, the early mornings, the messy, the failures, those are what actually delivers the value. Well, the goal is good to succeed. The system again is what ultimately matters. So it's a very interesting read. I don't know what you think. He goes on to talk about what goal restricts you, and again what goals are odds at, and why a system of atomic habits. So I'll just have like one chapter, then I'll do Q&A, and then maybe we can always come back on the stream, possibly from maybe Monday. He goes on to say, if you're having a trouble changing your habit, the problem isn't you. The problem is your system. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. So, and this is very interesting, and this is whereby I'm not trying to be a motivation speaker, but you'll always hear most of the speakers telling you, if you're not succeeding, if you're not achieving what you call the success, the problem is you. The problem is because you're dumb. Some people even go to that. You hear the modern day preachers saying that. But actually, sometimes you're not the problem. It's not even the goal is the problem. It's your approach. It's what you've been doing. And this is why you see sometimes, and I've seen it even when running an enterprise, sometimes you can have a goal to be very successful in your enterprise, but this does not signify the very end you're going to succeed. So when you tend to look through in what led to that failure, you realize maybe this approach was not the right approach to follow. So if you keep following that approach as a enterprise, ultimately you don't succeed. You'll keep saying I'm stuck. You'll keep saying maybe I'm the problem. Well, ultimately, if you had possibly done some analysis, you will realize that the problem is not you. The problem is not your ambitious goal. The problem is the system, is the way you do the thing. So if only you pause and then you examine where is the problem with this enterprise, and then that's why, again, I'll go back to the Netflix co-founder. This is Reed Hastings. And he goes on to say, you need to pivot. Don't be stuck forever. A smart entrepreneur, a smart innovator, you need to pivot along the way. And this is why, again, we are saying a system of atomic habits matters. You don't rise to the levels of your goals. You follow to the level of your system. So it's upon you. Focusing overall on the system rather than a single goal. It is more of a core theme of this book. It's also one of the deeper meanings behind the word atomics. By now, you have realized that atomic habits refers to the tiny change, marginal gain, the 1% improvement. But atomic habits are not just any odd habits. However small, they are the literal habits that are part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building block of remarkable success. I feel it's one of those books you feel like, wow, it's such a beautiful book, and I'm super excited that I will do a classic example of using this, the 1% rule, into reading this book, into even the everyday adventures. Because at the end of the day, I'll give you the good example. I was just looking at my channel here at Afrifama. We're a very significant small channel. When we started 2 years back, I had less than 0 subscribers. And I knew it. I wanted to share my story no matter what. I didn't have proper gadget. I didn't even have a way of shooting videos. I didn't even have possibly the confidence of looking straight into the lenses and delivering the message. But I knew I got to do something. So one day, without even knowing what to do, I came to the office and I flipped my phone, and I think I have this phone is actually right here, which I keep saying. So I flip it like this, and then I look at the screen, and I was like, "Hi guys, this is Afrifama, and over the years, I want to share what it took for me to be an entrepreneur. I want to share with you the journey, the downfalls, the people, and everybody who has or will be instrumental to this journey." And that was my first video. So right now we have made close to 500 videos, almost 200 long videos, almost 300 short videos. And what I did when I realized I needed to have this growth is I kept telling myself the only way to get the algorithm is you guys, the people who have stuck with me, the people who are listening, the people who see the value. The only way for me to be recognized and to build my brand is every day. It doesn't matter how bad my video, because trust me, the quality was so poor and even the confidence was not there. I just need to do one video every week. And for a whole year, I would literally show up. I'll record a video at the farm. I'll come teach myself how to edit, use the fast, whether CapCut or DaVinci, and then I'll edit the video and I'll put it. Sometimes I'll get the crickets, nobody will watch my work, but I'll still keep on building, keep on making the videos. And today, I think we are shy of 500 videos. The goal I have for the end of the year was actually 4,000 subscribers until my girlfriend said, you can do better. Why not do 4,500? So eventually that wasn't the goal. The goal for me was just 4,000 subscribers, guys. That was the goal. But it took me 2, 3 years to get there. For most people, it doesn't seem like big. But for me, who have seen the graph when there are days when we have 0 subscribers, 0 views, but over the time, what we kept on doing with our system of production, having videos come out every week, to even now when I'm having 3 shots every day, it's just unbelievable. From just one video every week to now we're doing 3 shots every day, and maybe now we're even doing lives, like almost every, maybe 5 lives every week. Is just tremendous. So what has happened due to these habits that are picked when it comes to creation, and linked it up with this ambitious goal of having 4,000 subscribers before the end of the year, is we actually hit that goal 2 months before December. So right now, I just said, I'm that one of the guy who get challenged and I'll say, okay, I'll do it. So I listen to her and say, okay, I don't promise you I'm going to do it because I've fulfilled my goal for the year, but I'll still try to see if it's possible. So right now, we are chasing 4,500 subscribers. So at the moment, I think we are short of 62 subscribers. And it's my goal to get 62 subs before December. And that's what will make me happy. And that's why I guess I'm talking to you on this end. So it's very funny when you think one video every week for more than 2 years. And here we are, 4,465 subscribers, 2 years, 2.5 years. It's huge. So I'll ask you, think about this. What is that one area that you can improve by 1% today? Because we have different dimensions. Professional-wise, whether you're working or you're an entrepreneur, that's whether you have the business. On the physical side, if you're a fitness enthusiast, you want to be in the best shape, you want to be healthy. In relationships, even relationships sometimes, I realized along the way, we used to have like this system which was very wicked, that you can only spend or talk to your loved one maybe once in a week or once in a month. But if you change that to maybe few days in a week, you realize even these relationships becomes better. They pull you closer. You understand each other, and ultimately, that is what we are talking about, the 1%. So when I finish this by saying success, it's not an explosion. It is a slow build. So as you go away, I need you to reflect on this. What is that one area that you can improve by 1% every day, that is going to have an impact in your professional life, into your personal life, and just reflect on it and start on practicing it, because I feel that is what ultimate trade is going to rise our levels from this way to all up. So that is it. It's we generally looked at the chapter one of Atomic Habits by James Clear, a very interesting book. So before I go, I'll maybe do 1 minute. Let me know if you're in this room. What do you think? Obviously, I see your comment from Anita. You're saying, very inspiring. I'm learning that the tiny changes result to remarkable results. We all want to hear this. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. And obviously, you go on to say, you think that 1% improvement might sound tiny, but over time it can create a huge result because it leads to a compounding growth. It's definitely, I agree with you. And obviously, Mr. Mate, you say, I can confirm that, Mr. Hillary, the journey hasn't been easy. Definitely, and that's why we keep on building. So it's a weekend, so that's what I thought. Maybe sometimes in the weekend we can talk about some of these books which are shaping our lives, which are building us, which are, you know, not every day is about entrepreneurship. We have also the other side that is also supposed to grow us, that makes us better humans, better husbands, better wives, better business people, better people. And it's those tiny, tiny, tiny decisions, habits that we make every day. I see Mesa Mateo saying, learn the power of being consistent and never be littering, literal beginning. Inspired. Thank you so much, sir. And I'm super, super, super grateful that you actually stayed on this live. I know it's a weekend, and thank you. It's such an honor. So that's why we keep on sharing. That's why we keep on sharing, to see if we can eventually uplift each other and grow along the way. So thank you so much. Thank you, Nita. And thank you for everyone who joined. And in case you're watching this later on once I'm gone, feel free to leave any question. As we say as Afrifama, we always come back and we always answer any question. And definitely, sir, yes, you are very also very much welcome. Wish everyone a lovely weekend, and bye bye. See you possibly on Monday. We might have something interesting now from the business side. We will be looking on improving our businesses, and it's good. Thank you so much. Really appreciate, and goodbye, bye bye.